Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are having a fantastic day. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, we will be talking about a significant winter storm that is going to be developing across the United States. For this part of the country where it will be hitting, this is definitely the first one of the season. There's going to be a lot of cold air behind this storm, so a lot of the snow where it falls will end up sticking around. I'll show you the GFS, the European, and a few other high-resolution models as to what are the current trends with this monster system. So right now, notice we have a system pulling away from the northeast and a system coming in onto the west. The area of interest is going to be here in the west. So do note that while we are already seeing a lot of cold air across much of the country compared to what we have been seeing, it's only going to get worse. We see a little band of snow developing across Iowa, Illinois into this upcoming Thursday and Friday. This is nothing of significance. This will be out of the way, and that is not the main storm. The main storm you can see comes in onto the west around late Friday, early Saturday. This thing is powerful. It's moisture loaded, but it only gets stronger because notice we have a strong southerly flow of warm air from the Gulf, this low pressure with this moisture coming in. So some of that moisture will bring snow into the Dakotas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana. It wouldn't be that significant, or it won't be that significant out on the plains as this thing kind of transfers its energy to the south. And notice that the precipitation begins blossoming, as meteorologists would say, across portions of Kansas, Missouri, and into Iowa and Nebraska. And do note that we have, at this point, this is late Saturday, early Sunday, so thankfully this is the weekend, but this thing will continue well into the week. Do note, we have, again, still snow occurring on the front side of a very strong high pressure. You can see 143. It's going to have a lot of cold air with it, so notice that a lot of this snow here will be falling in very cold temperatures, meaning it will be accumulating without a problem, and it will be fluffier snow. However, obviously, where that transition is from that rain into the ice and snow, that snow will be heavier. Do note that the models are now more established because a few days ago we were talking about certain scenarios. One that developed, the GFS, if you recall, developed it into just this blob of precipitation, so it didn't even develop a storm, a strong low pressure, while the European model did. It had that strong low pressure system, and it has been nailing this storm way more than the GFS. There was a brief time where the European stopped showing the storm phasing altogether, but that was only for one run around 2 days ago, and then ever since then it's been on the ball yet again, the European model. The GFS, though, has come in agreement with the European, notice developing not necessarily a massively strong storm, but a storm system. You can see there's quite a bit of moisture on its south side. It doesn't seem to be too convective, at least until it gets into the southeast, so the severe weather risk will remain pretty low into Texas, Louisiana. It will increase as you get towards Mississippi, Alabama. But do note that we see very heavy snowfall rates across Missouri, potentially Kansas, Illinois. The exact placement of this will remain to be seen. It's still 90 hours out. This thing will probably go to the north, to the south a bit, and there is a trend I'm beginning to notice in one of the models, the European, which has been more accurate all along, that I will show you in just a second. Do note, though, the GFS shows lots of snow for southern Indiana, Illinois. Again, areas that, well, let's just say haven't seen really much snow this year. Cincinnati getting potentially lots. Notice this thing doesn't take off and affect the northeast as a nor'easter. It kind of just glides off. It's like kind of like a southern slider, as some people have nicknamed these storms, which I would say it's a pretty good representation. And notice it moves off. So not a historic system by any means, but a significant snowstorm nonetheless. Notice the total snowfall for the GFS, while this also includes sleet. So some of these amounts very far south into, say, central southern Kentucky, ignore that because that is not accurate. The ones essentially where it shows as falling as snow, southern Illinois, northern Missouri, Indiana, potentially up to 10, maybe even 11 inches of snow. I want to show you now the European model. While this one doesn't have a snowfall on this website, I will show you the track. So notice this is the, let's go to the 12Z model run. So this is the model run that came in today at noon. Notice there's a little energy, a little clipper, I guess not clipper, a little piece of snow that could provide a little dusting to the few inches across Iowa, Illinois, and into the Virginia, the Blue Ridge Mountains maybe. Seeing some snow there. Do note that again, there's that system the European shows with initially just Pacific moisture across Montana, Wyoming. However, it quickly starts picking up moisture from the south. And do note, the European develops it into a stronger system. Not much stronger than a GFS, but stronger. It has a low pressure that's actually in the 900s, the triple digits, not the 4 digits, which indicates a weaker low pressure if it's above 1,000. Do note, though, some really heavy snowfall rates. And again, exactly where this lines up remains to be seen. Do note the European is slightly higher north than the GFS. With this most current run, you can see it's showing that range snow line straddling across Kansas City, showing St. Louis with some ice, transitioning over to maybe a bit of snow later on. You can see it takes it further north, that shield of snow, into Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Cincinnati, again, range snow line. But yeah, this thing is a little bit more powerful with the European. Notice that it also shows a lot more convective energy across the south, as the GFS kind of disconnects the system. While it doesn't convert it into a nor'easter that hits the northeast, it does, again, do what the GFS does. It's a southern slider. It does seem to come into the mid-Atlantic area with a little bit more precipitation and moisture. So again, I can't show you, unfortunately, the European snowfall amounts. I will do that in just a second, but because this website doesn't allow it, I have a different website I'll use for that. But I also quickly want to show you that the most recent model run that came out just a few hours ago before recording this video, so this is what the new model run shows, right? And if you look at the 18Z, which goes out to 144 hours, not as far out, but that's far enough to where we could see the system, you can see the system is a tad further north. We see, say, areas like St. Louis getting a little bit more of that ice and a little bit of that snow later on. The snow ends up getting into cities like Chicago a little bit more with this system. So you can see it's further north. Whether or not that's a trend that will continue remains to be seen. This thing is still pretty far out. This could, reverse and go further south with the next model run. So we'll have to wait and see. That is something I'm observing. And pretty much those Chicago, Des Moines, those cities should watch out. Detroit, may not show a lot of snow in the forecast now. It could end up being, a few inches. But also, same thing goes. If you live in St. Louis and right now your forecast is showing an ice mix, this might end up being a way bigger system for you guys in terms of snow if it goes further south. Notice Kansas, Nebraska getting a lot of snow as well out of this. So this thing will definitely be something that is worth watching for many of cities, especially since this thing is still deviating in its track. Do note, though, again, as I mentioned, the European seems to keep it stronger into the mid-Atlantic, and with the most recent model run, it shows snow even as far north as, say, New York City, while the previous one, you could see even a few hours ago, barely scratched New York City with snowfall. So let me show you the snowfall amounts now from the from the European model. So this is the most recent model run, the one that shows that track a little further north. And do note that you can see cities like St. Louis picking up 3 inches. Again, Chicago picking up 3, depending if it's a further north, further south. These amounts could increase drastically. Kansas City at 9 inches. Northern Missouri, 12 inches. I would say northern Missouri, you're probably going to see snow, north of Kansas City, unless this thing really shifts far north or really far south, which is possible, unlikely though. Indianapolis, 10 inches. You guys seem to be sitting in that sweet spot. Cincinnati, just on that range snow line. And then you can see with the most recent model run, this shows snow into New York City of potentially even a few inches there. New Jersey, 9-10 inches. Mid-Atlantic, Maryland, DC. So it's a southern slider. It's a very interesting one. We'll have to keep an eye on this one for sure, especially since it's changing up a bit. Notice the European model run yesterday at midnight. So this is, the one that I guess came in at the new year, the first one of the year. Notice it showed the system further south, right? Notice that the axis of heavy snow was almost south of Cincinnati and into portions of West Virginia, while the most recent one is definitely a little further north. It's also definitely a little weaker in terms of the snowfall amounts. We're not seeing those like 2 feet amounts, which some of the models were showing earlier in the week, which did seem a little absurd. So that's basically it. I just wanted to show you that. Again, I do not have that much time to go into detail today. For those tracking it themselves, I know, weather websites, I would suggest looking at the European. It's been more accurate. Now, obviously, the GFS may pick up and start being more accurate in the shorter term. We'll have to wait and see. For now, the European has been more accurate with the system, which leads me to believe any trend that comes out of this system will be picked up by the European more recently or more sooner than any other model. We'll have to wait and see, though. Notice the high-res models, the only one that really goes out far enough for that is a NAM, and do note that it shows that system across Montana, Wyoming, dropping quite a bit of snowfall, but only until it really moves out into the plains is really where that story begins, and again, this model just doesn't go further out than 84 hours out. By tomorrow, though, we will be able to see. Notice it drops quite a bit of snow across Washington, Oregon. Nothing extraordinary, no record breakers, but definitely a snowfall for the mountainous areas. Could see several feet of snow, so that's something to keep in mind. And that's basically it for today's video, guys. I just want to keep you guys updated, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.